just want to throw this to Vicky, and maybe as you also comment on just the previous conversation, how do we then go about creating an emotionally intelligent organization?
Okay, so I am a believer in checks and assessments because from where I come from, it's hard to treat something that you don't know. I mean, what is ailing? Not all competencies are wanting. Some need more work, some need less work. So I do believe that the first place is to conduct some form of assessment. Okay, first you have to decide this. The organization has to decide and to see the benefits, which have been listed by Mucha, have been listed by Sharon. And there's a lot of also statistics out there. I think my biggest one is that organizations that actually invest in the growth of EI actually have about 60% better mental well-being of their staff. And you can imagine in today's world where we're not talking about physical injuries, we talk about mental injuries. That's a very big reason, because people who are mentally well engaged better, I mean, all those resources of people who get, let me not even go into that, but it's a big thing. So I think the first step is to actually get some assessment of some sort once you have the framework in place. And it should always start at the top, because the top is where the buy-in has to be. People have to start speaking the same language. Some of these competencies have to be mapped to the values that this organization also wants to see grow. What are the issues? What are the pain points that we're seeing? Of course, there's usually the general sensitization of staff around EI and what EI competencies are, starting from the bottom. And in fact, one of the things we see is that people rarely teach EI to non-supervisory staff. And it's very important to have an organization going through that whole wide sensitization of what EI is. And then lastly, because every single person has a journey to go. For example, we came in here, we talked about the myths we have seen on EI. It's not easy for me to change from seeing emotions as a data point, as a soft space. I know that for me to start naming my emotions, it took a process. I needed a coach or an accountability partner. So you will have to coach people through adapting these new behaviors that they see, that they want to see now portrayed within either their leaders or their managers, so that you have a sustainable change or transformation journey that's happening throughout the organization. So you're not looking at, one day we'll snap our fingers and it will happen. It has to be a very deliberate framework that includes both training, facilitation, assessments, and coaching to really get the benefits that you're looking for in terms of cultural transformation.
David,
you wanted to add into that before
I have to jump in here because one of the myths that Vicky and I probably didn't mention is the thinking that emotional intelligence is something that you can learn and begin to implement and grow in a half-day training. I think that's another myth that we need to do away with. Emotional intelligence is a journey. Just like what Vicky says, and it's a journey that is ongoing. And for those of us who began that journey, whenever, however long ago it was, you find that it's a journey of forward steps and actually some backwards, right? Because I find there are times where I, behave in certain ways and I just think to myself, oh my goodness, thank goodness there's no cameras around, because God forbid anyone was to catch that on camera and share it on social media. That would be the end of my career as an emotional intelligence coach, right? Because I am working with individuals and helping them to navigate their emotions. And yet I have moments where I fail to navigate mine. And so I just really wanted to, agree with Vicky that emotional intelligence is a journey. And for an individual to truly grow in emotional intelligence, it does require that commitment to continue growing. It's not something that can happen, snap your fingers and now I'm emotionally intelligent. It's something that does require time and commitment and just really an understanding that it's a journey that doesn't really have a destination. I always say when I'm introduced in speaking engagements that I don't like being introduced as an emotional intelligence expert, because I don't think you ever get to expert status. I think you're always growing, you're always improving, you're always learning more about yourself. Yeah.